Come, let us review forceful practice instructions and then meditate like a Jedi. Our Paleolithic ancestors, according to anthropologists, were defined by being flexible, loving, rational, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. However, since the Neolithic Revolution and the rise of proto-capitalism, society has trained us to remain stuck in the survival instincts that keep us rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. Perhaps that is why Sturgeon's Law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks, including meditation teachers. These are the guys who will implore us to actively focus and actively analyze. The only way to do that is by overworking our dorsolateral and medial prefrontal cortex in the front of our brain, which in turn causes us to present with symptoms of depression, no less trigger our amygdala, the seat of anxiety and aggression. How darkly ironic is it that in the name of love and peace, we perform actions that take us in the opposite direction of love and peace? Fortunately, neither our amygdala nor our prefrontal cortex constitute the entirety of our central nervous system. Consider, if you will, our spinal cord, known by the fancy name of autonomic nervous system. When we stop trying to compete against our own autonomic nervous system and instead cooperate with it, effortlessly, our amygdala is calmed, and our anterior cingulate gyrus, which functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy, is gently stimulated. Sounds great, but how do we do that? How at last do we cooperate with our autonomic nervous system? Simple. Every time we inhale, we're already wired to automatically access the middle bit of our spinal cord, whose fancy name is the sympathetic nervous system. It has evolved to help us to notice in a very special way, to notice, or I should say, to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination, to notice all manner of phenomena without picking and choosing, but instead to vulnerably notice for everything from the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque. But what on earth do we do with that which we have noticed? Simple. Every time we exhale, good morning, Nate. Every time we exhale, we're already wired to automatically access the tippy top and the basement of that same spinal cord. These two extremes together as a team are known as our parasympathetic nervous system. And they have evolved in such a way as to help us to physically relax to such a degree that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, less defining, and even as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Now, Any good English teacher will remind us that a simile is only as useful as it is relatable. So we have to ask the question, what is a real-world example of a non-graspable vast empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although could look tantalizing to the eye, could feel non-graspable to the hand? Well, yes, that's all very fine and good. It's nice to know how the autonomic nervous system works, but the question has remained unanswered. What can we do to at last cooperate with it? The answer is like a cold slap in the face. That's how easy it is. Simply by silently and mentally reciting the demonstrative pronoun this every time we feel our chest swell with breath, and by silently and mentally reciting the verb rest every time we feel our chest subtly sink as gently we exhale. At last, we are aligning our will, our intention, with our own autonomic nervous system. It is just that easy. Forsake the lie that says focus on breath, and when your mind moves, return to breath. No, that is concentration. It will exhaust your brain, provoke symptoms of depression, and trigger your amygdala. Instead, as you breathe in, be vulnerable to whatever happens. And be equipped to go on a vacation or to go on a trip. Imagine you're in an IMAX theater. You're in a beautiful, enormous theater. You're sitting in the middle theater, so you have the best middle of the theater, the middle of the row. And you're not going to stop the film and get on the phone and cross-examine the director. You're just going to watch the movie and go where it takes you. This is the effortless effort that is the sixth fold of the Buddha's eightfold path. We are already wired to do this. All we need to do is get out of our own way. Having completed our opening instruction, let us take a moment to shift gears. It is Luke Skywalker Friday morning. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi after about 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is the Dzogchen Sende Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I've harnessed my autistic special interests as well as my ADHD hyperfocus to spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I can become your personal, nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to meditate like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. All the meditation texts I use are available for free download. Everything I do is free. There are no paywalls. There are no special teachings for big donors. Everyone gets the same. If you have a question about meditation or philosophy, simply type your question in great detail right in the chat window, for I check for questions about every 10 minutes or so. It's easy to get a little uptight when learning something new. It's easy to fear that as we sit to meditate. We will open our eyes to find that we have lost time, like some great contemplative Rip Van Winkle. And so allow me to share with you a variation of Bengali crease counting that can help. We can count inhalations for about, and 16 inhalations will take us a little bit less than 2 minutes. We can count 16 sets of 16 inhalations, and that'll take about 20 minutes or so. We could count 3 collections of 16 sets of 16 inhalations. Well, that'll take us a little more than an hour. Is that what we have to do every time? No, it's just nice to know we have options. By setting the tip of our left thumb upon the lower set of creases of our left little finger, we are keeping track of our first set of 16 inhalations. Let us rest our left hand palms up in our lap. Every time we silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this as we inhale, we could advance the right thumb. Together as a team, let us do that right now. Having run out of room to count on our right hand, it's time to advance our left thumb to the second set of creases of its little finger. As we return both hands to our lap, palms up, let us rest the great knuckle, the base of our right middle finger, on the tip of our left middle finger. This is how we'll keep track of our first collection of 16 sets of 16 inhalations. By resting the middle knuckle of that same right middle finger, we could keep track of our second collection. And by resting the very tippy top, the very third knuckle upon that same left middle finger, we could be keeping track of our third collection. Now, that's a whole lot of information. It is as if I just asked you to take a sip from a fire hose, is it not? Feeling overwhelmed? The antidote is repetition. Hang out with me at least once every 12 hours, and within a week or two, not only could you feel comfortable with this system, but you can master it. You'll still feel the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, but you'll play the fool less and less and less. The more we play with the 7th and 8th folds of the Buddha's Eightfold Path, mindfulness and meditation, the more the remaining 6 folds take care of themselves, until we've gotten so good at the 8 elements of the Buddha's metaphoric tool case that we practice them spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively, still experiencing the full realm, the full spectrum of human perceptions and emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings, but not being, or no longer being, their slave. Who can forget the words of Morpheus to Neo during the rainstorm? You are a slave, Neo. We can go from Neo conversing with Morpheus in the top of the town inn during the rainstorm to Neo exiting the phone booth and flying like Superman, metaphorically speaking. Some people will lie to us and say, man, we got to get a PhD and become a doctor of divinity if we want to become a Buddha. And that's a great way to sell admission to a university. But the Buddha taught that it's possible to master his path in as suddenly as 7 days. That ain't no time to get a PhD. That ain't no time to learn a foreign language. Let us set aside our pride or our controlling tendencies and simply practice in a trenchant and pragmatic manner. What do we mean by no self? There's no mystery. No self is just a metaphor. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever sense of self we might have inadvertently noticed during our previous inhalation could feel less permanent, less stressful, less defining, and less solid. That's it. The self, this self we experience as we breathe in, fleetingly becomes the no self we experience as we breathe out. The samsara we experience as we breathe in becomes the nirvana we experience as we breathe out. The perception we experience as we breathe in fleetingly becomes the cessation we experience as we breathe out. It is like a finger pointing to the moon. Becoming intoxicated with words and terms and definitions is like being so focused on the finger we forget about the moon. And in so doing, we miss out on its glory and beauty and captivation. Am I in the flow is what we say when we're not in the flow. But that's okay when we notice we ourselves being neurotic. Neurotic as a poodle at dinner time. That's fine. Take a few moments to sit and breathe and watch and rest. And you could be back in the flow momentarily. But what if we're really anxious? Great. You'll notice anxiety as you breathe out. You'll relax into anxiety as you breathe in. Do we do that to get rid of the anxiety? No. We do that to make peace with emotion. Emotion's always changing. It's always coming and going. If we make emotion our foe, it will undermine our mindfulness and become as nutty as a shithouse rat. Nobody wants that. Our job is to make peace. Consider the words of Abraham Lincoln. How do I destroy my enemies? By making them my friends. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever peace or anxiety we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel as if they were melting into the simplicity of just emotion, dynamic and energetic and useful, if not convenient. Let us discuss non-duality as it pertains to Theravada. The seventh fold of the Buddha's, let's try that again. The seventh enlightenment factor is equanimity or balance. Typically, that's seen as neither pushing nor pulling, neither dreading nor desiring, neither avaricing nor averting. But what it really is a remedial non-duality. The same response to all phenomena. Something pleasurable, notice it and release it. Something painful, notice it and release it. Something interesting, notice it and release it. Something boring, notice it and release it. And so we see that which we perceive is dual. There's hot and cold and clean and dirty and up and down and far and near, and that's fine. But our response to it is non-dual, simply the same. It's a remedial non-duality. We notice all that befalls us. We release all that befalls us. If you prefer that in Pali, that would be sati pasadi, or a winning answer in Scrabble. Nope, Nate, today we are using this rest. The purpose of the outer teacher is just to help us find the inner teacher. The inner teacher that of expedient means, of effortless effort, of wu wei, of going with the flow, of centered spontaneity. That is the sixth fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. That inner metaphoric teacher can take us on adventure after adventure after adventure. So right now I'm experiencing pain in my right hip. And I've promised myself that in about 2 sets, after 2 sets of 16 inhalations, I'm going to adjust my posture. Before then, I'm not going to try to endure the pain. I'm not going to try to push the pain away. I'm simply going to try to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly allow my body, mind to notice the pain and relax into it, and to temporarily use it as a teaching tool or a practice aid. Notice I'm not doing this eternally, just for the next 2 minutes or so. As we sit and breathe and notice and rest, we could experience every emotion, including that of boredom or downright aversion. What do we do with a boredom or aversion? You guessed it, we notice it and we rest into it. Let us discuss PTSD. Superficially, when a memory of something in the past is experienced as a present moment experience, that's trauma. Our hippocampus functions as the doorman or the bouncer of our long-term memory. And if something painful and horrible enters long-term memory, we consider it a memory. We consider it in the past. But if the hippocampus doesn't process it, then it bangs around as a present moment experience. This is not psychology. This is physiology. This is neuroscience. Yes, when we are in the midst of reliving a painful experience in the past and we are experiencing as the present, brisk walking meditation is very useful, especially if you combine it with the silent mental recitation of this rest. But it is a Band-Aid. A very nice Band-Aid, but a Band-Aid. Humans have no reset button. We are shaped by the world around us. Like a plant grown in a mold that, when removed from the rubber mold, appears to be cubical in nature. Trauma reshapes our central nervous system. That is neither good nor bad, it simply is. Trauma and its scars are not indictments. What do we do with the unpleasant souvenirs of traumas gone by? You can guess it. We notice them and we release them in harmony with our breathing. We silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this as we breathe in. We silently and mentally recite the verb rest as we breathe out, not with the intention of pushing away the experience, but with the intention of coping with it. There is a form of art made famous in Japan where a piece of ceramic is broken and then mended. The cracks are mended with gold, and the gold-filled cracks add a beauty to it, and would be an otherwise plain and unremarkable bowl or cup or platter. Yes, we could eat our beans plain, but I prefer seasoning. You probably do as well. We could eat our salads plain. I prefer dressing with seasoning. The slings and arrows of outrageous misfortune leave scars, sometimes subtle, sometimes vulgar, in our central nervous system. It is a real thing. It can be an inconvenient thing, but not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes my tantric partner will make something, and it isn't as spectacular as she would have liked. But it's interesting. It's an interesting change of pace, and that's not me being polite. Our dopamine-oriented reward system is wired to enjoy variety. And so instead of scouring the countryside for a non-existent personal reset button, let us take our traumas by the hand. Let us befriend them as an interesting change of pace from the banality of the mundane. How can we spot the toxic teachings of patriarchy? They are typically delivered by someone who is sourpuss and aggressive, or unctuous and deceitful. And ask yourself, before applying the advice, consider the source. Do I want to be like this person? It's scary. It can be scary to say. Institutions offer an illusion of safety. And it can be scary to say, ooh, this institution doesn't seem to be as beneficial as it pretends to be. I might need to continue my search elsewhere. That's scary. But fear, like peace, can melt into the simplicity of just emotion as we rest in our exhalation. In the television show Millennium, way back from 1999, the protagonist used the phrase trick bag, where no matter how, when a policeman asks a question, and no matter how the question is answered, it is seen, or at least pretended to be seen, as an admission of guilt. I remember one time many decades ago when I first encountered a Christian cult. At that time I was already a student minister, and one of their assistant ministers scolded me for filling out a form for a prayer request 2 or 3 weeks in a row. Just berated me. And I was trying to be polite and gentle with the whole thing, and I asked him for some clarification. And he said, well, your response is prideful. I said, well, I don't want to be prideful, and I could use your help. Can you help me to understand how I can be more humble? He said, well, that's prideful. Then, he said, even the way you're standing is prideful. Well, what? Proper posture is prideful? And even that question is prideful. So that was a trick bag. No matter what I was going to say or not say or do or not do, he was going to use a railing accusation to deny me the benefit of the doubt, figuratively push me back onto my rear foot into a defensive posture, to cultivate hypersuggestibility so he could better manipulate me, or at least try. Sadly, that strategy is not unique to that person or that organization. It is a universal attribute of patriarchy. Once we use the attributes of being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel as our North Star, as that by which we navigate life, the way we will treat others is pretty much predictable. Aesop fable told a tale of a fox or a wolf and a sheep. And the wolf would make a railing accusation, and the sheep would use logic to rebut against it. And with every accusation, the wolf would step a little closer, and the sheep would hold its ground. And the wolf would step a little bit closer, and the sheep would hold its ground, till eventually the wolf was in range to attack and murder and devour the sheep. In Philosophy 101, we learn that there are poor faith questions. There are poor faith communications that are distractions from ulterior motives, from agenda, from predation, from cruelty. Time is short and energy is finite. Let us not waste our time with predators masquerading as people, quote unquote, just asking questions. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 3 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's second session of meditating like a Jedi. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.